All right, there we go. Hello. If you're here, say hi. We are, oh goodness, what are we doing tonight? We are talking about COVID, conspiracy theories, and we have Round Midnight on Twitch or Doc Midnight on, I think everything else.
Yeah, it's gonna be changed to Doc Midnight. I check every day, and the Twitch overlord still won't let me.
Oh my god. Well, here, I have a make sure I'm spelling it correctly so that I can get it in there we go. Hell yeah, there we go, that works. So that's a shout out for our guest today. Okay, so we can kind of give it like another minute or so if you'd like to.
Yeah, sure.
I don't. My cat laid down on my mouse pad.
Strangely, neither of my cats like doing that.
What are you doing?
I don't know why.
Hello, PM. How are you doing? He's a very weird cat. He's missing a foot. We're not sure why, but he just is. But he, like, you wouldn't even know it. Like, he's a very active, rambunctious little cat. Yes, you are. Also a turd. Can you... Thank you. Okay, so, today we're just gonna go over, we will, have Doc Midnight introduce himself a little bit, and then, we'll kind of go into like his experiences working in the medical field with COVID-19, and then after that we'll go into some of the conspiracy theories that have been spreading in recent months. So if you'd like, we could just go ahead and start with like the first question. So what exactly did you study in school? Like, I'm not super familiar with how medical school works, but did you just do like a general practitioner's thing, or did you have a specialization?
So, to even do medical school, you have to get through like 4 years of undergrad first. In undergrad, I studied music and theater.
Oh.
Actually.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I still have a passion for acting and for music performance, specifically jazz performance.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. I love jazz music.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a very underappreciated genre.
I agree. If you go, oh well, since you've went on I think 1 or 2 of my talks before, like in my chat at least, you've noticed that I only basically play jazz.
Oh yeah, in the background, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. I generally play Star Wars lo-fi music, but when I don't,
That's the thing.
yeah, it's very fun. I like it. But then I like playing blues or jazz music in the background. Nice. Also, that's super cool.
Yeah, I didn't know I could look up Star Wars lo-fi as a genre, actually.
Oh yeah, there's one that has like a really adorable animation that I use for my streams. It's really good.
Yeah, maybe off stream you can link me to a few good ones.
Oh sure, yeah. I have a whole playlist of Star Wars lo-fi I'll send you.
Nice.
Okay, so then I guess what drove you to like go to medical school after studying that? Or did you intend to do that all along?
I didn't intend to do it at all, actually. It was actually my intent to like fully pursue acting in theater. But then, as many people have the realization, and many, actors and musicians or prospective actors and musicians think about the fact like, oh, well, if the 1% chance that I become successful does not work out, if I want a family or things like that, how am I going to support myself, right?
Yeah.
And like I when I was doing it, I was never like the best of the best or the pinnacle of, the pinnacle, right? And in my mind, then I was like, okay, well, it seems like no matter how much I put into it, I'm sort of plateauing, and a lot of people are rising above me. So in my head, I was like, okay, maybe it's time to choose a new field.
Hmm.
You know, like maybe it's time to like choose something where I could still comfortably perform on the side,
Mm-hmm. Do
and
you,
still pursue my dream in a different way.
do you still perform? I mean,
Uh,
probably not right
yeah,
now because of COVID, I
yeah,
would
not right
assume.
now, but there's a local jazz bar I loved going to that had a invitation only open mic nights.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
cool.
yeah, that every Tuesday and Thursday after work I would go and perform a bit.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really neat. So then I guess, was it just that you saw being a doctor as like the most pragmatic thing to do, or was there anything in particular that kind of drew you to medicine?
So like even when I was music and theater, I'd still love to listen to stuff like Radiolab in my free time, and I like still love to be like very deeply involved in science,
Mm-hmm.
just like in my free time. So I sort of realized like, oh, okay, well, I don't really, if I'm choosing something else, I don't have to just and be involved in science from a leisurely standpoint. I can actually make it my job, right? I can actually pursue a job that allows me to like apply what I learn in science and be able to help people.
That's awesome. That's super
Um,
cool. I understand. I found myself recently, or not recently, but in like the last couple years, gravitating towards like sciencey YouTubers and like anti-conspiracy science conspiracy YouTubers and stuff. So that's really neat. I do not have the drive to become a doctor, but that's very cool that you did and do are. I can't talk.
no, no, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, then that sort of, took its course. And then in medical school, you basically, your first 2 years are completely academic, and your last 2 years are like almost completely clinical. So in your last 2 years is when you like really get a picture of like what every single specialty is like. And then that's when you apply during your last 2 years to your residency programs, where you basically choose your specialty. Like
Hmm.
that's when you like definitively choose.
So, I am not 100% sure like how exactly things went down. But or I guess what was your intention of like going into like what medical field, what kind of doctor were you going to be? I don't know if that's how to say that, but
What I wanted to choose is basically nothing that I ended up being because of COVID. So I had a very deep interest in this very like specific field of oncology. Um,
oh, mm-hmm.
and pretty much every new resident, because of COVID in the U.S., who had a residency about to start in July, like I did, if they lived in a state that like really needed help, they pushed people's residencies to March, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then had everyone work in the ICU and specialize in something called like an intensivist, which is like a critical care specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even right now, I don't even know, like, okay, well, I've basically done a good amount of my residency so far in critical care. Does that satisfy any of requirements if or when COVID is over, if I want to go back to the original specialty I chose? A lot of that's still very unknown to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my specialty is now critical care, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean that makes sense. It sucks on many levels, but that makes sense. Simping Senator Sanders, thank you for the follow. And then Rant War, uh, so does he know COVID related stuff? Can we ask him questions? Would you like to take questions from the chat?
Yeah, I usually leave those towards like the end. But rant more, yes, even though I am a new doctor, I am a doctor that has been working on it since March. So for like 90 to 100 hours a week. So yeah, you can ask me any COVID questions. I also volunteered myself to be part of the COVID like research task force where I am. So I'm even more deeply well versed too in the deep science behind
That's
anything COVID related.
wow, that's really cool. I did not know that. Well, so Rant War, why don't you try and let's try and time the questions towards like where we're in between topics or something like that, or I will try and note your questions down and then we'll come back to them afterwards if that sounds good. Thank you for being here. Um, okay, so I guess okay, cool. Well then you are just to I guess like clarify. You are currently working with COVID patients and also working on researching COVID.
Exactly. Yep. Basically, all of that since March.
Wow, that's
Oh, yeah.
that's
Although
really cool.
research-wise, I have like 7 years about of experience.
On what in particular?
Just in clinical research and like epidemiology from just being deeply involved in it in medical school anyway.
Oh, that's really cool.
Uh,
I I don't know very much about it, but I will say I think epidemiology is very interesting, and it seems like it'd be a very interesting and in conflicting ways, but like rewarding path to follow.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, right now they're sort of, getting the shit end of the stick. Epidemiologists. Um, but yeah, usually, it is a very interesting field because you look into how diseases spread, how they work, how to prevent it from. You're sort of like playing you're sort of like playing Sims as a doctor, if you will, in the context of disease.
because you're like running simulations on what the disease would do, that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm just.
Oh no, because you do run like highly deeply computerized simulations on like, oh, if we did this right,
Mm-hmm.
what's the most like mathematically probable thing that'll happen in terms of the spread of this disease if we did this versus if we did this versus if we did this. So, like in the context of COVID, like if you see all the studies right now saying like, oh, actually wearing masks reduces the spread of COVID by like 70% or whatever. Those are like epidemiologists doing those studies.
Okay, so it's like a would in trying to visualize it, I would assume that it's much more complex than this, but sort of like Plague Inc., where you would do add different variables and see what happens, what the disease does, and what the best course of action to take would be.
Yeah, yeah. Is Plague Inc. the game where you are the disease, or is it the one where you're trying to control it?
No, it's the well, right. Plague Inc. is the one where you are the disease, so it would be
Got it,
the
got it.
the inverse of that. I would think they are interestingly enough they are creating one where you get to be the cure or like you're supposed to
Uh,
stop the disease. Especially for COVID, it's going to be free while COVID's going on.
yeah, I'm surprised they didn't make the board game Pandemic yet a COVID expansion or something like that.
uh Okay, so, I really quick, I think this is a fine point to take Rantware's question. So they said that they've been having skin problems because they've been disinfecting their groceries every day when they buy them. So they're wondering, is there even any point to disinfecting the groceries? Can COVID transfer via objects? Like they used to not care, basically better safe than sorry, but now they're having legit consequences. So
But right now, in the field of scientific research for COVID, we still don't really truly have an idea whether, not whether, but how often or how likely COVID does transfer from surfaces. Um, it's sort of like a split of like 50-50 in the research, whether it is something to be completely concerned about or not. So I would still err on the side of better safe than sorry, unfortunately. However, an alternative to like disinfecting literally all your groceries when you buy them, and this is even something I do, is just wear a set of like just normal examination gloves when you go to the grocery store. Have your own bag. Like, don't use the shopping cart. Just like bring your own bag and check out using your own bag. And just throw out their disposable gloves, or just throw them out when you get to your car.
Mm. That's what.
Rather than ruining your hands.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was gonna say. Is like maybe if you can find some like good kitchen gloves or something, so that if you are gonna infect your groceries, excuse me, then you could wear gloves while you do it. Perhaps if you can find them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wish I could give you a better answer, Rant War, but like currently, our understanding really hasn't evolved of that yet. We just know it could happen. We just don't really know, how often or how likely it is. We do know, however, that on different surfaces, COVID survives for different lengths of time. So, like on more porous surfaces, like paper or cardboard,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it dies off within like 20, 30 minutes, or
Oh,
even quicker.
really?
But on surfaces like stainless steel or like hard plastic or things like that, uh, the virus can scientifically stay viable for like 5 to 6 plus hours.
Interesting. That could very much be wrong on this. That seems to me to be counterintuitive. Is that normal for viruses, or is that something that is kind of different or not as frequent? Or do I just have very incorrect preconceived notions?
So counterintuitive in what way? Like for the virus?
Uh, yeah, I guess like it seems to in my head, it would seem that
Mm-hmm.
like a porous surface would absorb it or like have it last longer, and a surface like stainless steel would kill it quicker. But I could be completely wrong on that. Like, so I
Yeah,
guess
so
is
it's sort of the other way around. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh no, I was just so I
Um,
guess just like is that just specifically for COVID, or is that does that apply to most everything?
so think about it, like flip your reasoning the other way. So like, think about the fact that in more porous surfaces, there's more holes. So there's more like possibility for things like air or just other things to like flow through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the more porous the surface, the less surface area technically, and the more things interfering technically exist with the virus existing on that kind of surface. Versus like stainless steel, right? There's no real outside interference on the surface besides someone having to like completely disinfect it themselves. If that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, that actually that
Yeah.
does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank
So
you
your
for.
reasoning is right. It's just reversed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question I have down here is like how have your experiences shaped your view of the medical industry, or has it like have your experiences with COVID changed the way that you think about it, or anything like that?
Um, it's basically made me completely lose faith in medicine in our country. Made me completely lose faith in our government. It's made me completely lose faith in the whole entire structure of medical care and insurance and pharmaceuticals in our country. To the point where, like, recently I've been saying on people's streams, like, I don't really know what else to do besides a complete wipeout and restructuring of these symptoms.
Of the medical
Sorry, not
industry?
symptoms, systems. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. I know for me personally, COVID has completely changed my political views, like the way I view the government and healthcare and that kind of thing. So I could definitely understand that. Is there anything in particular that you've noticed that has led to those changes, or that like loss of faith?
Um, just seeing how I think perhaps, and this doesn't just say this doesn't just stand true for the medical field. Uh, I think perhaps just the COVID pandemic has like sort of unveiled a lot of things that previously just weren't like widespread in terms of knowledge, and not just in the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, going into medicine and especially like social media and Hollywood, right? Like medicine as a whole is just like really like glorified field, right? Like
Yeah.
especially if you're a doctor, right? You're sort of marketed like, hey, everyone will listen to you. You're in complete control of everything that goes on, right? And then little do you know, especially when I'm technically some like a new doctor, that nothing is within your control, even as a doctor. Uh, the whole entire hierarchy is literally just the hospital administration and everyone else. And to the point where there's like very specific guidelines, even to like not just how you talk to patients, but even like following treatment procedures, even though those guidelines for following treatment procedures might not be like completely ethical guidelines.
Hmm.
Um, and I think COVID has especially just like opened my eyes to like things such as political opinions of people in administration influencing the lives of both patients and medical professionals alike under them in a very bad way. So I've just completely lost faith in how things are done in healthcare in this country, at least.
I mean, I think that's very understandable.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I've listened to a few of your other streams, and the way that you talk about it, it sounds like you have uh, at where you work, there's pretty severe cases and quite a few people dying. Is that accurate? Uh, as to how things are at
Um.
your work?
Yeah, and I think I'd like to clarify too that like this unfortunately is the case for a lot of other states in our country right now.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's something
Yeah.
that at least I've noticed in the area that I live in. I'm in a pretty small town, kind of in the middle of nowhere. So we've been in very much of a bubble when it comes to COVID. And because we haven't taken a big hit, like our hospital is pretty unaffected. Um, and so it seems to me that a lot of people who live in areas like I do aren't taking it as seriously because they're not actually witnessing the hospitalizations and the deaths. Would you say that you think that's accurate as someone who is in that kind of area?
Yeah, I mean, people, even people in an area where, ICUs are at capacity, right? When people are scared, they selectively choose to hear or believe things that they want to, like, subconsciously hear or believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even where I am, right, there's people believing, oh, this is not a big deal, right? I won't ever get it. If anything, just like to protect their own selves from their own subconscious at times.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard. Excuse me, and I haven't looked it up yet, but I've heard that people in some areas have actually been like in denial as they're dying of COVID. Like this isn't real.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
not
see that
supposed to
every day.
have this. Really?
Yeah.
So what do do they have an idea of what they think is happening to them? Because that seems amazing to me that you could contract the disease and yet still be in denial of its existence or its severity. So what do those kinds of people, like, how do they justify it to themselves, or do you know? Do they just not?
So even if you like wave their positive COVID test in front of your head, in front of their heads, to their last dying breath, they'll still be like, "Oh, this is fake news. Like this is a fake. This is a conspiracy. Like you guys are all lying. There's no such thing as COVID."
That's insane. That must be
Yeah.
that seems like it would be an awful thing to witness, like to see people going through that.
Yeah, because then in their family's case, right? I've even had like failed malpractice cases brought against me because families would then believe, hey, why did you guys treat my family member for COVID when they never had COVID? You know, maybe it's your treatment that killed them
Oh my
because they just
gosh.
don't believe COVID's like real.
That's that's insane. Um Rantmore says, I
Yeah,
think it's
I don't really know what to do.
no,
Honestly, like,
no, and that's like as Rantmore was saying, I think I agree. Like a lot of it's political indoctrination. Like if people just, especially in quarantine, I would think like
mm,
you're stuck on social media and you're going through these conspiracy theories and having your beliefs reinforced and reaffirmed by other conspiracy theorists, and you get to the point where like you just can't, you've dissociated yourself so far from reality that you can't accept it. I mean,
well, you know what's the most sick thing, and perhaps the main thing that like is allowing these beliefs to pervade themselves, is that in around social media too. I don't know who's paying these people, but like doctors and random specialties are even being paid to go on Facebook or on Twitter or YouTube to go on talk shows and say COVID isn't real.
oh my god, I read
You know,
when I was
like
doing
actual MD doctors.
that's insane. I know that I was when I was doing some research to like try and find some conspiracies for us to talk about, I found an article about a nurse in the UK who got suspended or fired because she was saying that some of these are actually from her, that masks cause the disease to spread even faster and like at a higher severity, that like there hasn't been much talk about the flu this year, so like thus that somehow means that COVID is fake because people haven't been talking about the flu. So I mean, that's really surprising though to hear like doctors, like MDs, doing that.
It's really dangerous.
Oh my
Yeah, and perhaps for like if you want to watch on stream or off stream,
god. Mm-hmm.
I just sent you a video I reviewed on stream a week or two ago that someone sent me of like of a gynecologist saying like, hey, the vaccine's designed to like put nanobots in you to track you. COVID's not real. Blah blah blah. Yeah, like these people exist and they have no
Wow.
integrity.
Well, I mean, I guess that's just like crazy comes in every level of education, and but
Yeah,
you would think, I don't know, that's really mind blowing to me. Just wow. I don't really have words. That's
yeah,
just so
yeah.
insane. Um
Well, yeah, especially when in medical school they treat like you taking the Hippocratic Oath as like one of the most serious things in existence.
mhm. Oh yeah, no.
Like,
And then there you go causing harm, spreading medical misinformation.
yeah.
Um that's insane. Um okay, so um having lost faith in the medical system, what improvements could or should be made in coming months to try and help healthcare workers like yourself? Like, what ideally would you like to see, either Trump on his way out of office or Biden as he comes into office? What policies do you think would be very helpful?
To be honest, because of how little faith I have for things on the federal level at this point, the best change that I like think people should try to make
Mm-hmm.
is within their local communities, either like donating money to like free clinics
Mm.
that provide like healthcare and that hopefully will provide vaccines in the future to communities that are normally underserved, or making masks and dropping them off at hospitals or things like that. Federally, I did do a stream where I went over Biden's full 7-point plan,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a decent amount of things, and if you want, we can even go over some of them that like worry me. Where basically some parts of the plan are conveniently worded to the point where like if they don't do some of the things they say, they have like a fallback saying, well, like we said we would only do this general category of things. So You know what I mean?
Yeah, just like a little bit of sneaky wording there.
Hmm.
I can imagine that. I haven't looked at that at all. But that wow, that sucks. I know that it was I was looking at an article about Biden talking about if he's going to introduce another lockdown. And I know that he was saying that he is like very much, no, we're not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to shut the country down. It's just not going to happen. And then later in the same article or same interview or whatever, him saying like that he's willing to do whatever it takes to stop the virus. And so it does, I could see, at least from what I've seen, that there is that like he doesn't really have a concrete plan. I hope that sounds accurate. Okay, so, and then the last one before we get on to the conspiracy theories is, do you have any thoughts on how the country could respond better in a future pandemic? So say like 20 something years from now, whatever.
I mean, I'm sort of the doomer in me is sort of thinking 20 years from now this will still be the pandemic.
Oh god.
But you know, like at the risk of sounding like a broken record, right? Like there were many things that absolutely needed to be done from day one that we didn't do. That many things are at the point of no return for us doing again, especially because in a lot of states, a good 20% of businesses at least are closed down for good, right? Like it sort of irks me too that the response was very simple. Like, hey, just complete lockdown. You know, science and the federal government need to work together to preserve people's mental health during the lockdown, right? We needed to have $2,000 at least minimum, like stimulus every month. We needed to
Yes.
provide people with job security. We needed small business stimulus to actually get to the small businesses.
Not to Kanye West's Yeezy company.
Yeah, or Shake Shack, right? I heard that was one of those like burger places that got it. That got a lot of it.
I hate that. I hate that so much. My parents own a small business, like a real small business. Like they work it and everything. And when I was reading about the companies that were receiving the like quote unquote small business stimulus, it's absolutely infuriating.
Yeah, and above all, we need centralized healthcare.
I very much agree with that. I definitely like, so I've been moving further and further left since I started Twitch. And
Yeah, Freems was telling me about your journey.
oh really?
I was on with him yesterday, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, like, so when I first came on Twitch, like, I was very much against universal healthcare. I was very much coming from like a center right wing libertarian kind of perspective, like the government shouldn't provide those kinds of things. But holy crap, COVID has just completely changed my mind on that. I mean, like seeing how many people are affected by it, and then how many people are like struggling to get proper access to medical care and things like that, like it is definitely been eye-opening for me. And then in addition, seeing the way that like the Trump administration and others have like been handling the pandemic and not doing things like the stimulus, not doing things to make sure people get access to the medical care that they need, it's definitely been like very disheartening.
Because you come from like a or more than me at least, a right-wing perspective, could you perhaps then like maybe speak to the perspective of some of the people who still stand by him?
By Trump?
Or or either by Trump or from a more general part by the Republican Party.
Well, I will say I've never been a fan of the Republicans. Even when I was like more right wing, I've never liked Republicans. Trump, like I cannot understand anyone standing by him at this point. in my early days here on Twitch, I would have defended a lot of the things that he said back then. I did defend a lot of the things he said back then, but through his so pseudoscience has always been something that is very important to me, like even through my conservative times. And seeing Trump pushing medical pseudoscience so hard during the pandemic and denying the severity of the pandemic so much, I genuinely cannot understand people who stand by him. I can understand, I suppose, the mindset of people who are so like I want to say like indoctrinated or brainwashed into right-wing ideology that they would stand by someone like that still. But I mean, this doesn't have to have changed anyone's mind on being a conservative or anything like that, but I cannot understand how you could still have a high opinion of Trump after the way that he's handled all this.
Well, so to put it into perspective, there's doctors I work with, and there's doctors I know nationwide that still even have a high opinion of Trump. And my own sort of like hypothesis is basically
Hello?
Sorry.
Okay.
I just got raided randomly.
Oh, wonderful.
I like to like mute my mic if I'm like, if I'm saying just random stuff like that, to not disturb like your thought process or anything. But I think the hypothesis I've come to is like, regardless of like the flat out, just completely utterly wrong things that exist for him as a person and as a politician, for a lot of people, even doctors, if it validates people's like classist or racist or prejudiced beliefs, or oftentimes even like homophobic or transphobic beliefs, then they'll still, regardless, support him. And at least I can speak for the doctors that support him why that is.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's what I kind of mean by like the only way that I can understand staying by him is if it is because of those like politically, I don't know. I can see that from the people who have those kinds of beliefs, why they stick by him, and then also the people, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm just amazed at the level of denial from.
Well, so to ask like a sort of personal-ish question, what are the political beliefs of your parents, and if they were, how you the same beliefs as how you started on Twitch, have their opinions or perspectives changed from this pandemic?
My parents have always been relatively left-wing. I would consider my mom like a centrist, kind of. She has some like right-wing beliefs that I would disagree with, but I haven't talked to her about. I was thinking about them actually today. Some things about like immigration policy that are a little bit more conservative, but generally like a centrist or a center libertarian. And then my dad is like an old school left-wing punk rock libertarian, like,
oh, nice,
down with the system. Everyone sucks. The people behind the curtains are controlling stuff, and the government just needs to like go away, kind of, like, not entirely, but very much. So yeah, I think that my parents' perspective of Trump has changed, especially my dad's. I think my dad was more receptive to Trump, for the same reason that I was in 2016, because like it was something different. And Hillary Clinton was just so awful in our eyes that something other than like kind of the epitome of an establishment politician, would be better. But I definitely like don't think that he would agree with that now. But I mean, yeah, does that answer?
No, yeah. I was just curious because I feel like usually, from my experience, like, and this is just from like the medical field and interacting with patients,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of younger people right now that are like right-wing conservative are more so because of their like parental background.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's why I asked that question.
Yeah. No. Like the right wing stuff was something that I more just like found on my own on the internet.
Oh, okay.
And very much the experience of like when people talk about like the alt-right rabbit hole, I guess is how I would describe it. I would never have described, I would not describe myself as ever having been alt-right, but definitely found myself going down those like channels on YouTube and stuff like that, and luckily realized it, and I've backed very much away from that. But yeah, it's very much I can empathize with and attest to the fact that it is very easy to slide into that ideology on the internet. And like as much as I shit on internet conspiracy theorists and QAnoners and stuff, I do totally understand how you get to that point. Like how you find those things and why they are comforting and enticing.
So then my question to you is like, okay, because this is perhaps one of the most important things for me on here to do.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be able to help me find a way to like sort of slip into those communities or, you know, environments and market what, you know, I have to say in a way that's just as enticing, if that's even possible?
So you mean like try and find right-wing COVID denying communities and stuff?
Or just like create like media that like slips its way into the right-wing QAnon, you know, part of the internet that actually they would listen to.
Yeah, Chairman, you can't sit on my desk. Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing, or the thing that I do that generally brings those kinds of people into my chat, because I do quite frequently get people who are further right wing or QAnoners or whatever in my chat, is to name the stream something clickbaity, something that they would do, you know. So generally it's like bleach cures cancer, question mark, exclamation point, the earth is flat, did you know, like whatever. Like today's stream I think is just COVID conspiracies with a doctor, but like things like that, things that would make people feel
like,
comfortable clicking on the stream,
like purposefully make it ambiguous.
yeah, and I've found that that seems to get people to come in, which I like. I enjoy having those kinds of people come into the chat and engage. But yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing I would say is and don't ban people, which I wouldn't think you would do.
I've only had to ban one person, and it wasn't because of their political beliefs.
That's I think one of the biggest things that has helped me. I know you're right-wing rant war. You're wonderful. Thank you for being here. But like not banning people because of their political beliefs. I mean, I think that's really huge because there's a surprising amount of people who have still beliefs I disagree with, but not that entirely conservative or insane beliefs, that will come into the chat and be like, wow, this is the first time that someone hasn't banned me for like the first thing I said. And I think that can help make those people feel more comfortable and welcome in your community. Yeah. Enough that they'll listen to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I always say is like, I don't run a left-wing community, I run a scientific community.
I like that.
Even though it's sort of turned out, even though all of the people I've been on with have been left wing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's mostly because everyone I've reached out to that's right wing did not want to have me on.
It doesn't surprise me. um,
But I've even now where I've sort of like found more of a political identity, I still stream on the basis of like, hey, my religion is science, my political beliefs are science. All I care about are the facts.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is how I address it in terms of questions I have in my chat and things like that. Um, I'm wondering maybe if you could at one point help me like create a video that's like marketed well enough or that's designed well enough, that'll make its way to be like spread amongst the anti-COVID people, and then like all of a sudden it turns into like a scientific video or something. I don't know.
I can definitely do my best. One thing, so I feel like some people in the chat might ree a little bit at this statement, but I watched a very good video from Vosh the other day where he was talking about rhetoric and how to. He was talking specifically about climate change and how to get like MAGA bros on the climate change train. But I think very much the same kinds of principles could apply to COVID. And basically just he was kind of talking about like how to phrase things in a way that will appeal to that audience. And a part of it is something that I think already do a little bit, but want to continue to incorporate into my channel, which is that, like, especially when it comes to the conspiracy theorist people, you kind of slip in and give them a new conspiracy theory, right?
Oh, okay.
So, like, whereas a lot of people right now think that,
So like, oh no, go on.
Well, just that, people would say that, like, COVID is manufactured by the medical industry or by the leftists or whatever to cause a political scene. And then perhaps, I'd have to think it through more, but, like, perhaps you could slip in with something like, the COVID denial is actually the conspiracy. The COVID denial is a plot by the right wing to, get more people to die or whatever. Like, not necessarily that, but that kind of thing, where you can kind of get in and flip the script on them. And while it sounds conspiracy-esque, it doesn't have to be a conspiracy. You just have to kind of frame it that way, I guess, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, I'm starting to have an amazing idea now. So maybe the ideal video is like a whole video talking about, the video will be titled like why vampires are not real, or like why werewolves are not real, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what, like subliminally, almost like like subtle Coke advertisements in movies, just like have little facts interspersed throughout about COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to think about it a little bit more. But I definitely, I know that that's something I intend to move forward with more on my own channel. Not specific to COVID, but to other things, like alternative therapies and things like that. Because a lot of the people that go to alternative therapy, have very much the same mindset of like anti-establishment. The medical industry is trying to kill me for money, like that kind of thing. So I'll have to think about it. We can brainstorm on it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. I think honestly that will be the only way for me to, one of the only ways at least, for me to be able to reach out to the more right-wing community.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, and I think like a big part of it, I don't know, I think is the way a lot of leftists present themselves and their arguments is very abrasive to right-wingers. And so I think that there's a particular like vibe or attitude that you can set with your video that will make people feel more comfortable. I think a big part of it is like People on the left can be very judgmental.
Hmm.
When it comes to like, if you don't agree with them, then obviously you're just stupid and can be discounted at sight or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think avoiding that kind of thing can be very helpful. And Rant War said something in here. Uh, as a conservative or a right winger, I don't know if I'd call you. I don't know if you want to be called a conservative. Whatever. It's fine. It's they say it's because common sense right wingers aren't popular. It's a sad fact for us, but the quote unquote pro science part of the right wing is just not that entertaining. They're just not eye catching enough to be relevant. So most that do make it are usually those with the conspiracy theories. Um,
Wow. Yeah, and Rantmore, as long as you're pro science, you know, I'm just glad anyone pro science exists, left wing or right wing. Um,
Rant War is cool.
yeah,
They're one of the cool
yeah.
right wingers. They're here in my chat.
I can definitely recognize that, especially even though I don't really outwardly identify as left wing or right wing, the fact that I've been on with a lot of left wing people, I do see the perspective like, oh, I mean, both sides really are very easy to attack each other. Um,
Yeah.
my perspective, right, just is non-politically is just like, hey, we're in a pandemic right now. Uh, no matter your views, right, left wing or right wing, everyone's human and no one deserves to die. Um, no human being really deserves to die in a way that could be helped.
Yeah. And I
Um,
so this is, I think, a pretty good thing to address, and it will kind of lead us into the conspiracies a little bit. So somebody in the chat says, quick question, had H1N1 had the same mortality rate as COVID, how would the response of Obama and Biden been measured?
you're saying it does have it, because if you are, it's wrong.
No,
Are you saying if?
I think they're saying if it
If.
had.
Oh. So can you readdress the question? I'm sorry, can you restate the question?
Me restate it or them restate it?
You restate it,
Oh,
sorry. 'Cause I hyper-focused on the mortality rate.
so if H1N1 had the same mortality rate as COVID, how would the response of Obama and Biden been measured?
Same way. I mean, the people measuring the response, even though the measurements of the response end up being spread throughout the media and then presented in the way, different media sources want to present it, the people measuring the response are doctors and scientists. And even for the past Trump administration, when we've analyzed the response, it's been presented in a very fair and objective way. And if you don't believe me, not you specifically, Cheshire Cat, but like people,
Mm-hmm.
I urge you to go into scientific papers and look at how they've analyzed our response to the pandemic. And you'll be happy to find there's nothing political in there, because that's not how we think of things. So, what I mean is, I can't predict in the Obama Biden administration how the media would have spun things, but I am happy to say that the same kind of judgments and analyses would have happened by scientists and doctors in terms of response.
I think that sounds fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of segueing from that into that kind of brings me to, I guess, my first conspiracy, and this is probably one of the most prevalent ones that I've heard. COVID is just a flu, or not even as bad as the flu. The media is just trying to scare us.
Yeah, when you sent me the questions earlier and I read that one like particularly tilts me.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
yeah.
So I guess then just like, how does COVID compare to the flu?
It's like comparing apples and oranges, It's a completely different thing. The mechanism it works is completely different. Everything is completely different. It's not a fair comparison whatsoever to make at all.
Why do you suppose people jump to the flu as the comparison?
Flu's familiar to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of in terms of just like, you know, in most Americans or anyone around the world's really lifetimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have experienced either the flu or the flu shot or the symptoms from it every year, right? So I understand like people resorting to that as an explanation, but when people are comparing statistics for two entirely different things, then that's when it sort of bugs me, and that's what a lot of media has been doing. Not to mention people from the left wing or right wing. Um, yeah, is it as bad as the flu? It is. Yes, it is worse than the flu. Because it works completely differently, and the way you die is different, and the symptoms are different, and the whole entire way your body treats it, and the whole entire way it replicates in your body is different. So, as you can see now, right, it literally is comparing like my foot to your nose, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. And I honestly, I guess I hadn't really thought about it before, but it does make sense that you can't really compare the two. I mean, I would assume perhaps it's because they both can cause a sore throat and coughing. That
Well, so the
it's an
only
easy comparison.
yeah, so the only similarities between those two things is they're spread similarly, and some of the symptoms are similar. Once again, still comparing two entirely different things, but if we have to compare, that is how it'll be compared.
Right. Yeah. Um okay, so then wait, hold on. There was something else in here, I think. So then there hasn't been much talk of the flu this year. Do you,
It should be.
as a doctor, have you been noticing, is there like just no presence of the flu, or are people still getting the flu and just COVID is drowning it out?
Uh, I think it's safe to say in America, right? Like, what people talk about is it's largely dictated by our media. We're like a very media-driven country,
Mm-hmm.
both social media and like political or news media.
Mm-hmm.
I think just the fact that, oh, I know just the fact that COVID is on the news all the time, it is drowning out,
Mm-hmm.
news about the flu, because we don't have news about the flu generally, because, the flu is something we know how to deal with.
It,
Another difference between two different things.
I have to say, it does amaze me at this point that there are still people saying that. And I understand, like you can't compare the two. But the fact that so many more people have died at this point during one like short cycle of it, rather than how many people or how much COVID has killed a lot more people in a very short period of time than the flu generally does every year. And so it amazes me that people still like would maintain that kind of position.
Yeah, and plus the biggest fucking difference right now, pardon my language, is we have a vaccine regularly for the flu.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, that is perhaps the biggest difference.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend about that today, and it is we have a vaccine that a lot of people take, and I mean I think a lot of people, maybe I'm wrong, because this is my what is it, anecdotal perspective, I guess, or observation, but it seems like a lot more people are getting the flu shot this year because of COVID, because they don't want to accidentally get, or like they don't want to get both. And so perhaps that could also be a reason that we don't see as much talk about the flu, because people are actually getting the flu vaccine.
Well, the talk that needs to happen is exactly the talk that needs to spread around the media is that everyone should especially get their flu vaccine this year more than any other year, because Long story short, having worked 8 months at 100 hours a week in the ICU, 9 months now, getting the flu and COVID, you're basically fucked.
Oh my god.
So I'm glad in your anecdotal experience people have been getting it more.
Well, I hope that that translates to other places. I know that where I live, people are, like going crazy for the flu shot.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can't speak to if other places are having that happen. Um, okay, so then let's see what the next one. All right, so this is a personal one for me, I guess. There's an individual that we've looked at on the channel a few times who she got herself fired from work for refusing to wear a mask for this reason, which is that masks cause asphyxiation, or they can cause asphyxiation, which is death by lack of oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I shouldn't have to ask, but is that true?
And I actually love the parentheses you put in the question way more.
Oh.
Because the legit medical conditions that can make it so you can't wear a mask. Because I've seen people have those stupid ass cards, like waving the cards around even in front of me. Like, hey, I have this card that says I don't have to wear a mask. So.
Well, I know that, and that I added that part because
Yeah.
I'm going back to work, which I haven't mentioned to the channel. I'm not sure, but I'm actually back at work preparing to open. I work at a pool, and in our COVID manuals, right, it says that if you can't wear a mask, you cannot enter the building. Right. So I agree. But so I asked my boss, what do we do if somebody says that they have a medical condition that makes it so they can't wear a mask? And his answer was that we have to let them in.
What the fuck? Okay. Of our communities watching right now, unless you were are fucking Deadpool and have 8th-degree burns on your face, that wearing a mask could significantly hurt you or cause your imminent death. There is no medical condition for which you can't wear a mask for at all.
So okay, I'm trying to think, because I think I've heard a couple examples. Having conditions where you have where you need to wear an oxygen supply, right? I'm not exactly sure what's
ventilator.
Not a ventilator, but the where you have a tube that goes into your nose that gives you extra oxygen. I'm not sure what the condition is. Is that a is it a ventilator?
It's
okay. But so
severe ones get trached, but.
So it's something like that where you have to have an oxygen tank with you at all times. Would that make it so that you have a viable excuse not to wear a mask?
No, because you can wear a mask over it, and I actually saw a patient today that wore a mask over it. So Britt can do it.
Sorry, I'm trying the best I can to make an argument for this, but I
old fucking lady that I saw today could do it. You guys can fucking do it.
Yeah. All right. So then, following into that one, from a nurse in the UK, masks cause the disease to spread even more, and I think even specifically, they claim that it breaks the particles into smaller particles, or your spit into smaller bits, and it flies farther and faster.
Jesus Christ. Let's just say the particles are microscopic enough to where your mask does not act like knives that cut the particles into smaller pieces. What it's actually doing is blocking a particle of a uniform size from reaching out of your mouth in a more widespread way.
Mm-hmm. Well, so and I think I think you talked about this a little bit with Johnny Scarlett on Saturday. Um, but the cloth masks, right, which is like what I wear to work, what my coworkers wear, are they helping? Because I know that's something that a lot of people are like, well, the mask doesn't even do anything anyway. So does it help to have a cloth mask in front of your face?
So I urge everyone to go onto YouTube, and you can even do this right now on your stream if you want, and search up videos of like people wearing cloth masks versus not wearing cloth masks, and they have these like cameras that can see microscopic things such as respiratory droplets,
Mm-hmm.
and it still makes an extremely significant difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not it's not as good like as an N95, but it makes like an extremely significant difference anyway. For both protecting yourself and for you protecting other people. Um, and in terms of masks causing asphyxiation, you will again be able to go on YouTube, and I've made one of these videos actually of the hundreds of thousands of videos showing up of
The
doctors and nurses wearing like 300 masks and doing a marathon attached to a machine that measures their oxygen output.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those. I do really appreciate that. I mean,
Um,
I'm glad that there are there are doctors out there like yourself. All right, so here's one.
so yeah, it does not. Long story short, it does not cause the disease to spread even more, and pretty much any scientific study on masks that no one can say is fake news shows that.
Oh, wow.
You know, because of these conspiracy theories, right? Science has to push back and do these like waste of time studies. On like, hey, does mask wearing actually do anything?
Holy shit. Wait, are these people just talking? I know this is a high-speed camera. Is this just talking?
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible to see how many particles come out of your face. That's actually, I mean, that makes sense why we should wear a mask.
Yeah. I think one thing I found that really like, is really allows me to resonate with people of any belief is like if I bring out like a video that's like pretty transparent and like undisputable, then
Mm-hmm.
people can actually relate to it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's a really good. I'm glad I know that now. Thank you.
Oh, for sure.
I will direct people to those videos. Um. Okay. Oh, okay. So the Rant War asks, do you think that there's a placebo-like effect that people can, like, they actually convince themselves that they can't breathe properly with the masks on?
People, I love. I urge everyone out there with like any interest in nonfiction to look into like videos or studies of the placebo effect of in it of itself.
Hmm.
People have managed to convince themselves of crazy things. Um, I've had patients that like even because of placebo can like artificially increase their temperature by like 1 or 2 degrees because they believe they have an extremely high fever.
I
You
mean,
know, the placebo effect's a very strong thing. So yeah, yes to that question.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I know that I have a family member who says that they feel like they can't breathe properly with the mask on.
Mhm.
So yeah, that makes sense.
You know what you know what works that I've told people like that to do is, and this is a family member you live with, correct?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, tell whoever is, reasonable that lives with them, uh, to have them like wear a mask around the house,
Mm-hmm.
just casually doing things, and eventually they won't even notice that it's there,
I think
and
that
then
makes sense.
and then they'll have zero argument.
Okay, let's see.
I've done it myself. I like worn a mask just at home to see like how I would feel about it, and I eventually just like forgot it was there.
Well, I know wearing it all day at work, definitely it actually feels weird to come home and not have the mask on. Like,
Yeah.
especially for like the first week I was back, I would like come home and be like, this is weird. I'm talking to a person. I'm supposed to have a mask on.
Yeah. For me though, like it's still like thankfully it's still able to be two different things because the masks I would wear like going out in public are completely different from like the whole getup that I wear at work.
Oh, that's actually a really interesting random little question. What do you wear like a full like kind of hazmat suit? Not like a hazmat suit, but like a full body suit or
Here. I will send you right now this amazing diagram. So in my head I have this catalog of just like videos and diagrams and stuff,
Mhm.
but for like everything. um
Just let me know where you're going to send it and I will pull it up.
Here we go. For the most part, for the institutions that can afford it or that are able to provide it, this is what we wear every day.
Let me see. Gotta pull up Google here. All right, here we go.
All of that completely together.
Move my webcam so people can see. Put myself down there for a second. Okay, so we've got respirators and masks. Suppliers having FDA and NOISH, whatever, approved respirators and surgical masks. Medical gown, aprons, caps, and shoes. Okay, so I think that's what I was thinking of in terms of like a full body suit.
So it's like different pieces that make up a full body thing.
Right, yeah.
Um,
My friend has a mom. Her mom is a nurse at the local COVID clinic, so I assume this is what she's wearing.
For people that are able to have access to the correct PPE, like yeah, that is ideally what we would all wear.
So we have someone in chat. Masks do nothing. COVID is the seasonal flu. Everyone is overreacting. Oh my god.
I think they're just trolling, looking at their other comments.
I assume, yeah, since hospitals are going out of business.
Yeah, Fresco, there are better things to do sometimes.
Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Since we can somebody suggested that we play the video again. So I'll just play it in the background. So
the unlikely chance that he is not trolling.
Yes.
They are not trolling.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, alright. So here, really quick, I'm gonna pull up the questions. Trying to remember. Okay, so the doctors are assigning deaths that are not directly due to COVID as COVID deaths in order to drive up the numbers and make it seem scarier. So the example would be, again, I think you talked about this with Johnny a little bit. Someone saying that a man died of a gunshot wound, but he was tested positive for COVID, so thus counted as a COVID death.
I can confidently say that in the whole entire history of the world, in every single possible universe that can exist, that has never happened.
So do you know where that comes from?
I honestly have no fucking idea.
Because I've had people say that kind of stuff, and I've never been able to find a source.
The problem is actually, and this is something I talked about with Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we're underreporting it.
Well, Oh god, gross. I just saw the sneeze one,
Completely
sorry.
on a nationwide scale underreporting it. Sometimes not even because we're willfully doing it, just because there's no integrity to the data.
Well, I mean, at least at first, I guess, okay. Are there issues with testing when it comes to that kind of thing? Do you know?
Issues with large varieties of tests being available. When only one test, the RT-PCR test, has like a very high level of accuracy. But I know nationwide, in pretty much every single ICU, patients are regularly tested for COVID using the highly accurate RT-PCR test. So that if or when they die, there's a very clear distinction both in the medical billing and diagnostic ICD systems of if someone died having tested COVID positive, or if someone died having tested and shown the symptoms of COVID negative, or if someone died and had COVID symptoms but tested COVID negative, and so on and so forth. The distinction is made very meticulously.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it would be bad science and bad medicine. And if you're going to argue that we're doing that on purpose, not doing it meticulously, it actually works more for capitalism for us to do it meticulously so that we can bill things when patients die in different ways. So you earn more money coding these things correctly.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really
So
weird.
I don't know where it came from, but it's flat out stupid for a gunshot wound to then be coded in the system as a COVID death. That would never ever happen, even in the most unethical health systems that exist.
So here's a less extreme example, and this is one that a family member told me about. Is that an older relative, like in their late 90s, had a bunch of health issues, and then got COVID and died, and that, in their opinion, should not have been counted as a COVID death because the person was going to die anyway. And that's something I've heard from multiple people, is that because people are going to die anyway, or are like close to death, them getting COVID shouldn't be counted as a death.
So let's put it in this perspective. In almost all cases of that argument, the die anyway part is a matter of like being able to live for 5 more years versus dying in a month from COVID.
Really quick, sorry.
So yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I just have to say, Liberal Cheesecake, thank you for the 10 bits. You are wonderful. Thanks for being here. Sorry, continue.
So the only way that, then I would agree with something like that is if someone tests positive with COVID with mild symptoms, and then you shoot them in the head, then yeah, they shouldn't be, coded as having died from COVID then.
Okay. I mean, I think that's reasonable. Alright, next one, let's see. So bleach and or disinfectants, hydrogen peroxide, ozone, whatever, name your literal poison, can cure COVID when ingested.
It cures COVID in a way that by killing people, you're technically cured of COVID, right?
Right. So, I mean, I get...
you technically have nothing to worry about then if you're dead.
So the theory, I guess, is that it... Especially, so, like, when it comes to, like, hydrogen peroxide, which I've been doing research in, because I hate myself, the hydrogen peroxide therapy, people claim that because it's created as a part of your immune system, that your body knows how to use it to attack the proper bad things in your body.
Bleach attacks absolutely everything in your body, including your body. If anyone doesn't believe me, they can talk to or not talk to the 15 people that I personally treated, some of them who came to the ER and then the ICU from ingesting bleach and dying, some of them not even testing positive for COVID.
Oh my god.
Um,
Wait, really?
yeah, and if it comes down to it in terms of the argument, I'm happy to even like print out de-identified or like type out a de-identified version of their case
That's
so you can see how
insane.
fucking insane and stupid it is that
Oh my
people,
god.
yeah. Um, so yeah, if people want to do that, then I guess I'll see you at work tomorrow.
Awful. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. It is very weird to me because I listen to things like this a lot or right, I listen to a lot of videos about people talking about people who ingest bleach and then very severely hurt themselves or die. But I have to say, it is very surreal to like hear someone who has actually like interacted with people who have done this. Because usually it's like,
Yeah.
you know, somebody on the other side of the country that's just a random Facebook crazy, right? That
Yeah.
that's insane.
I think it's analogous to the whole waterboarding thing, right? Where if you're gonna say bleach cures COVID, then having go onto video after getting COVID and drink bleach on video, and we're not gonna send you to the ER or anything, and we'll just, whoever's okay with it, we'll just videotape what happened.
Oh my god.
I mean, right? Well, there's no other way to really deal with that, right?
No, it is it is genuinely amazing to me some of the people that like get into those kinds of things that convince themselves that it's okay. Um
Yeah, because even shit like hydroxychloroquine, like, oh, if you really firmly believe in that, right? I'd love for you to, if or when you get COVID, come into the ICU and sign a waiver saying that is the only treatment you will get, and that's it. And then you can bet your life on that then.
oh god. And and the sad thing is I think there's probably people who would take you up on that.
I know, yeah. I, yeah, it is sad.
Also, liberal cheesecake, very, very true. They said, it's hypocritical that the same people who ingest bleach and whatnot for COVID also get mad over teenagers eating Tide Pods, although both are
Yeah.
awful. It's like, that's a very good point. I didn't actually think about that, but that's probably a lot of the, like, angry boomers who are like, these stupid TikTokers eating Tide Pods.
I don't know what's worse. I don't know what will kill you quicker though. Eating Tide Pods or drinking bleach.
I mean, I guess it depends, because, like,
I don't know what's in Tide Pods. So.
I'm pretty sure it's like pretty concentrated laundry detergent.
Okay.
So I guess it would depend on if you're like straight up drinking like a cup of bleach or if you're doing like the bleach quote unquote therapy where it's like a few drops of bleach in a glass of water, which still can't be good for you in any way, but that would probably kill you slower.
Homeopathy.
Oh my god, don't.
Yeah.
Oh, that was if we
It's homeopathy.
if we have some time afterwards, I'll like ask you about some random pseudoscience stuff.
Up, down.
Okay, so the testing numbers are being lied about to make it seem like there's a higher rate of people testing positive, or the another version of it is that they are underreporting the amount of tests in total so that it seems like a higher percentage of them are testing positive.
Here's the problem. And this is the problem with our country alone. Like, do you remember how previously I said only one of the tests is like really more accurate above all the other ones?
Yeah.
We in our country, because people want extremely rapid tests for some fucking reason. We now have like 4 or 5 different tests that we're doing. which is like leading to, you know, loss of integrity of the data for testing because we're not all using like an extremely standardized test that has high accuracy across the whole board. So, pointing to that though, we could not fucking we cannot lie about it if we tried because things are so wonky with it. Like we cannot fudge the numbers if we tried, if that makes sense.
Rantwar actually just linked me to an article. If you would like, I don't know if you can grab the link from my chat, or if you want me, I can I can copy it.
Yeah, thankfully because of the chat arena thing, I can.
Oh, sweet. I wasn't sure if you could actually take links from that or not.
Yeah, I see your chat and my chat.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to try and figure out how to get that in mine. But so this, I'm not gonna read it on stream right now. But thank you, Rantwar. I will look at this later. But it's talking about like this is I guess some of the claims of incorrectly attributed COVID deaths. Or would you want to go over it really quick? It's a very short article, actually.
Yeah, I'm opening it up right now.
Okay. I'll pull it up on stream.
Just give me 1 sec. I have to like move my overlay a bit.
No worries.
Okay. I have a little cat that like represents me. That's dressed as a doctor.
Oh my god.
That one of my students made.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
So I have to move it around whenever I do open other stuff. Okay, let's see.
Oops. For anyone, this is that's the music I'm listening to. I feel bad. I want to set up a bot that will spam my playlist. But somebody commented about the music, so I just want to make sure I'm sharing what I listen to. Go away, ad. I actually hate you. All right, so we have do you have it pulled up? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we have a 60-year-old man who died from a gunshot wound to the head, a 90-year-old woman or a 90-year-old man who fell and died from complications of a hip fracture, a 77-year-old woman who died of Parkinson's disease. These are some of the deaths in Palm Beach County recently and incorrectly attributed to COVID-19 in medical examiner reports. Read that right?
Yeah. Let me stop you right there real quick. In the medical examiner and hospitals are two separate entities. Hospitals have their own medical examiners as well. Things that are reported to our government in terms of data from COVID deaths, thankfully because we can't regulate medical examiners, are reported to our government by hospitals, guys.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have
outsource autopsies to medical examiner offices.
Also, I have a friend. Also, this just came into my head. I have a friend who wants to be a coroner. And she's told me a little bit about how the like medical examiners are educated, and in a lot of places they aren't. There's very low requirements to be a coroner.
I would agree with that, yeah.
And she's also told me about some very concerningly like unethical procedures that like they take because they're not as regulated as doctors, because they're working with dead people rather than people that they could potentially kill. So I have heard that they're not necessarily the most competent of individuals, depending on where you are.
And that's like something we've known since the beginning of time, so anything sort of analyzed by medical examiners is reanalyzed in our hospital. I mean, often, before COVID even, oftentimes you'll find records from hospitals completely differing records from external medical examiner offices. That's why a lot of hospitals, like the one I have, are now doing autopsies and things in-house.
So what is the procedure when someone dies?
Well,
Like during COVID?
in terms of what context? Oh, well, so when someone's in the ICU,
Mm-hmm.
which are pretty much the only times people die from COVID, like I said, they're tested for their whole entire duration, almost every other day, if the hospital can afford it, for COVID using the correct tests, so that when they do die, it can be reported correctly. But also, like, I don't think people understand that deaths of patients aren't reported ever as, hey, they died from this one thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're always 100% everywhere reported as, oh, we suspect they might have died of this primary thing, but there's 30 other things, like in this guy's medical history, right, that
Mm-hmm.
could have also caused it. There's no, even before COVID, it's never black and white. Like, hey, this guy definitely died from, even people dying from gunshot wounds in their medical report, they still have all their medical history and comorbidities listed and percentages of what they possibly could have died from.
Well, and
Like, so it's fucking stupid.
well, and
Yeah.
I could be very wrong because I'm probably taking this information from watching way too many like cop shows. But like, isn't it generally that it's not even necessarily like the thing that we would say they died from? Like, if somebody was like choked to death, you wouldn't put on the like death certificate or whatever like choked to death. You would probably put like
Asphyxiation.
yeah, or maybe like a broken neck, or like specifically where they broke their neck or whatever, right?
Like anatomical. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
So I mean, and that's I guess what my assumption was when it comes to like and I don't know about this 77-year-old woman, but like the older people who die who have pre-existing health conditions, like it seems to me that like the cause of death wouldn't be COVID alone. Wouldn't it be like COVID with contributing factors?
Also, think about it from the way of what kind of cases go to be examined by the medical examiner's office.
Mm-hmm.
Right, usually cases that have to do with police-based situations, right?
Okay.
Not like no one's gonna be sent to an external medical examiner office that died in the ICU. That's never
Okay.
gonna happen. It's usually something related to police or fire department or something activity.
So it generally well, like they would go to the medical examiner within the hospital.
Yeah, like I said, hospitals have their own.
Okay.
They I know 0 hospitals that outsource it. Like, hospitals can afford to have their own medical examiners.
No.
These people have MDs and they're very highly qualified
Mm-hmm.
in autopsies. But let's put it this way then. Can you ask a dead person if they tested positive for COVID?
I suppose not.
Whether they were negative or positive, they would have never been ruled as a COVID death in the hospital at all, remotely at all, ever. Yeah.
Okay. Here, let's see. Okay, so list of all COVID.
Even with this, sorry to cut you off.
Oh,
even
no.
Within this article,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way to confirm anything at all on this spreadsheet they're talking about.
Do they link to the spreadsheet?
Of course not.
The fuck?
Why would they?
Alright, so it says a spreadsheet of 581 cases of COVID deaths. In each case line, the person's cause of death and contributing causes of death are listed if there are any. Team found 8. Wait. Hold up. 8 cases in which a person was counted as a COVID death, but out of 581, 8 cases. I mean, I'm sorry. That's not that many people. Like, even if we were to grant to say, yes, sure, those were incorrectly labeled COVID deaths, right? Assuming that this is true. That isn't enough to be, like...
widespread across the nation, they're mislabeling COVID. Yeah, no.
Right, yeah, like, that's a clerical error.
Yeah. This should be renamed as a human fucked up.
Yeah, like right? this seems much more like you could simply explain this by clerical error. Like, okay, all right. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for the article.
Nasal swabbing dead people and testing them for COVID, guys. That's the only way that I would be able to, do this.
So,
right?
So that's not something that's happening, right? Generally, is that, like, it's not like somebody dies and so we're gonna test them for COVID.
No. It's just wasted resources.
Okay, yeah.
It's wasting limited resources.
And so that, to me, I guess, would lend more credence to what you were saying earlier about the numbers being underreported, because if someone were to die at home, right, without having gotten a COVID test, then you wouldn't be testing them.
Yeah, and those people that die at home are then, picked up by police or fire departments and then sent to be autopsied by medical examiners, who also would not have really known at all that they died from COVID.
That makes sense.
They tested a dead body.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Or unless they requested the medical records of these people, which I don't really think that they can.
Okay, let's see. We only have a couple more here, I think. Here, this kind of continues on the one we were talking about, but the tests themselves are lied about, giving people false positives, claiming that those people are asymptomatic. Basically that the asymptomatic thing is not real.
So what's funny is that the people that are saying the tests are being lied about were the ones clamoring for rapid tests being needed. Like, hey, I need a rapid test so I can go back to work or prove that I'm COVID negative to do whatever the fuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the reason why there's no data integrity, because there's so many different tests being done.
That makes sense.
Yeah, have I seen people test negative for COVID using a rapid test and then test positive 30 hours later? Yeah, hundreds of people. But hey, that's not the problem of the people who, wanted widespread testing of one modality.
Mm-hmm. Well, because isn't that, I was listening to someone talk about their COVID testing experience, and they said that, like, the test that they ended up taking, which was, like, the rapid test that got results... Oh my... You're gonna pull my earbuds out of my ears, Kat. Oh, crap. But, the test that he ended up taking, the rapid test that came back within, like, 15 minutes, that one, it had a 25% chance of being a false negative. And they hadn't told him that before when he chose which kind of test to take, and afterwards was like, what the heck? So now there's a 25%. I would have taken the longer one.
Yeah, so PSA to everyone, regardless of whether you believe in COVID or not, or care anything remotely about what I'm saying. If you want to get tested for COVID, please choose the test called the RT-PCR test. At the very least, you'll get accurate results so that you can make informed decisions about what to do.
Aren't rapid tests notoriously unreliable, though? Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. But that doesn't mean... Like, the people that are saying the tests are being lied about are not... It's not the same population of people.
Yeah. Alright, so then the last COVID conspiracy that we have is hydroxychloroquine, and just kind of everything surrounding that. that it's a miracle cure for COVID, well, or maybe not even a miracle cure, but a treatment for COVID, and people are lying about it because of reasons.
Well, let's just put it this way: we've had to put countless wasted millions of dollars because of the past administration saying that hydroxychloroquine was amazing into researching why hydroxychloroquine is no better than placebo, and it is not. And
So
it pisses me off because we had to waste so much money and time into having to do proper studies on it.
So hydroxychloroquine is used in the treatment of malaria, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess presumably there is no grounds to think that it would help with COVID. But like that being said, why do you think people think that it helps with COVID?
Because our past administration said it did.
Is the
You know I'm right.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I can't say anything else about it. But I guess it's where did that come from? Because I mean,
it came specifically from Donald Trump. Am I correct?
Well, yes. I guess, like, do you have any idea where he might have gotten that idea, though? Not that you know Trump personally or anything like that, obviously.
I mean, the reasons why he would have said it are dubious, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, like, put credence into, you know, the belief, like, oh, he definitely had, like, a high financial stake in the company or whatever, either. You know, I'm simply at the point where I'm just gonna be like, I mean, I don't really fucking know, but he did say it, and that's the fact that we have.
That's
the fact
fair.
that we have is he was the first one to say it.
I know that the hydroxychloroquine thing.
And yeah.
It just amazed me. As soon as Trump said that, one of my favorite like anti-pseudoscience like YouTubers immediately put out a video talking about how this is no, let's not do this. This isn't real. But it amazes me that it gained as much traction as it did. I mean, I guess it makes sense because the president said so.
I mean, I'm not saying this is what happened, but I am saying, like, let's put it this way. If I had a large amount of financial stock, like, hypothetically in a company, right, that, you know, made devices for amputation, and then I was in a position of high political power that I had a good 30% of the country listening to me, and if I was millions of dollars in debt already, like a aforementioned person, and I was in that position, and COVID happened, and I was in a position to have 30% of the population believe me, or more, that amputations can cure COVID. I can see why then I would say then amputations could cure COVID.
That's
I think
fair.
that's the most objective way I can put it.
So Rantmore has to leave, and they have one last question for you.
Rantmore, by the way, I appreciate all your great questions, and I appreciate you showing the same lack of judgment to me as I show to people on your side of the political spectrum.
Which reminds me, he also, at the bottom of the document, I copied a couple of his comments from, or their comments from earlier. So I was thinking we could go over that later, about your wanting to reach out to the right-wingers. Okay, so they have a shit ton of Serbian friends living in Serbia because they live in Romania. And as far as they know, the Belgrade government is planning to buy Russia's Sputnik vaccine for the population. Any advice? Should they dip out and wait till the Western vaccines are commercially available? So I assume that's a question of, like, is the Russian vaccine good?
I will neither confirm nor deny this for my own personal safety.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it this way. a lot of doctors around. Oh, let's just put it this way: the people in different countries do not represent their government, for one. Number two, uh, doctors around the world talk to each other constantly over any possible social media platform that exists. Um, let's just put it this way: in the context of Russia, there are people that may or may not reside in that country that are doctors that I trust with my own reputation and my own lives, in my own life and my own everything. That at a point where hypothetically they, you know, could have verified the data behind the Russian vaccine and even the specific cases in which the Russian vaccine uh, cured COVID, or not cured per se, but provided long-term immunity for COVID. It was at that particular instance where there was apparently no data to be had, besides a certain member or certain members of the government supporting this idea that we're not doctors or scientists. So hopefully that puts it into perspective for you, since I don't want the KGB to knock on my door.
That's a fair concern. Okay. Well, is there anything that you would like to touch on that you have more thoughts on that we've gone over tonight? Before I pester you with other questions.
Well, someone in my chat pointed out to me that it's FSB now. KGB is now gone, apparently. So I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So sorry to the KGB who are probably now listening. I did not know you were rebranded as the FSB, and I shall now address you appropriately.
What are you doing? My cat is eating my earbuds. Why?
Oh God.
Why you do this?
I had to wrap all my wires with aluminum foil or just get everything wireless because they have chewed through my cat's everything.
That's a really good idea. I did not think about. Chairman does not particularly chew on cords. He's just in a feisty mood right now. But my parents' cats, they try to eat all their cords. I will have to let them know because that makes a lot of sense. But I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, and my actually really stupid cats actually legitimately try to eat them, not just chew on them.
Oh my god.
So.
Oh. But my parents' cat eats plastic. Like we or they do their best to, like, you know, keep them away from her, but if you accidentally leave one on the ground, she'll just go over and start, like, nomming on it, like the plastic grocery bags. It's really weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand cats less even than QAnon people or science deniers.
That's fair. Cats are very odd. Like, I don't know. I feel like with dogs, because, like, I have a very good doggo. Like, I don't know. It's easier to see them as, like, a sort of human-esque personality.
Yeah, they're more transparent.
Yeah, whereas cats are just really hard to figure out, man.
Yeah.
They're weird little creatures. Yeah. You're a weird little creature. Say hi. Say hi. No. You just look grumpy.
But yeah, if you had any questions regarding other scientific conspiracy theories, I think this is the time, because I would love to hear them.
Okay. Well, here's my biggest one.
Okay.
Chiropractors.
Oh.
So, I I like, as I've mentioned, I watch a lot of like anti-pseudoscience YouTubers, and one of the biggest things that they talk about is chiropractors. And growing up in like a very hippy dippy like left wing area of the country, my parents went to chiropractors and stuff when I was younger, and learning about like some of the horrific things that chiropractors do,
Hmm.
it just like it amazes me that they are considered doctors. And so I guess I just would like to know like your thoughts on chiropractors, chiropractic medicine, like all that.
So, as I explain this, I am going through a transition that I've learned. I've learned this word recently in the Twitch community, where I am balding, which apparently means I'm so mad that I'm balding or about to bald.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard that word before. That's a new word I learned.
I have heard it, although I can't say that I knew what it meant. That makes sense. I don't know if I can say that that makes sense, but
Um, yes, chiropractors love to represent themselves as doctors for the exact reason that they do not have anything close to a doctorate degree. Not saying that they can't, right? There are people that are doctors of medicine that have specialties in chiropracting.
chiropractic medicine, I think.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I hate to even use the word medicine alongside of it.
That's fair. I mean, one thing that I find really interesting, that I didn't know, is that the origins of chiropractic is in magnetic healing. That it was like a fundamentalist religious guy that started it, thinking that he could cure people's ailments by realigning their spine and like getting their magnetic energy flow like back into line. And that's why
Yes,
they do
yeah.
the adjustments, is because it's like releasing the magnetic energy.
Say the only thing that's being adjusted is your medical bill. Um, I have previously also been a volunteer firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the worst cases of like serial repeating people who always had to go to the ER all the time are people that regularly go to the chiropractor.
Really? I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but
To
you
the
don't
point
really
where some
hear
people
about it.
needed major spinal surgery.
Well, I mean, that
Because,
doesn't
yeah.
that's surprising, but at the same time not, I guess. Like when you watch the videos of some of the like manipulations or whatever the fuck they call them,
Hmm.
that they do, it I think the worst one, I can't, it's a drop, it's a something drop. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but basically they like lay you on this table and they strap your chin and like skull into this thing that they hold on to, and then they pull and the table just drops out from under you, and the people's spines make just this awful crack noise. It
Hmm.
I don't know. So I mean, is there,
Yeah.
it seems to me that there is no like benefit to that, from a medical perspective, like an actual doctor. Is there any benefit to cracking your spine to fix other things?
Yes, it's called arthritis.
Well, it seems to me like cuz I always thought, like growing up and stuff, because I never went to the chiropractor, thank God. My parents weren't that insane. Um, but like I always thought that they were kind of like massage therapists, you know?
Very strongly advocate for massage.
You do?
Yeah, yeah. That's an actual thing that actually does help people more than placebo. But
Well, and I guess that's my thing, is like after finding out that they're not like massage therapists, they're much scarier. it just amazes me because to me it seems like it would make a lot more sense to go to a physical therapist or a massage therapist.
Yep. I love physical therapy. Please do that, everyone.
I have a very, very minor background in personal training, and like fitness stuff, and that was one of the big things that like I learned in personal training is to like encourage people to go to physical therapists. Like if you have pains after working out and things like that, like physical therapists are very wonderful and should definitely go to them.
Let's put it this way: a physical therapist, especially a doctor of physical therapy, will never ask you if they can realign your spine. Your spine doesn't need fucking realignment.
Well, and I would think that if like you had something like cause can't you get like a slipped disc?
Oh, for sure.
And like that,
disc and things like that.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thing you need surgery.
For.
Yeah.
Exactly. See.
Okay. Here, let's see. I'm trying to think of some other. That's my biggest thing. Like I haven't done enough research into it to talk about it on my channel, but chiropractors get under my skin a lot.
Can I lump something into the chiropractor thing that would actually be good information?
Uh-huh.
In my chat, Aseems asked, would you trust a DO? So that's another thing. Do you know what a DO is, Cheshire?
I don't think so.
So a DO are like medical doctors that just have a different, the same degree with a different face, right? It's called Doctor of Osteopathy. Would I trust a DO? Yes, I would trust most DOs that I've been around and worked with my life. It's just going to med school, but approaching medical education from a different way. So doctors of osteopathy go to medical school, learning about practicing medicine from a perspective that more involves like dieting or like treating the source of the disease rather than treating the disease itself or the symptoms of it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for some people, is it easier to get into a school for DO than an MD? Yes, but for the most part, that doesn't invalidate the skills they have. So hopefully, Aseems, that answers your question. However, there are some DOs out there, I'm looking at you, Trump's doctor, who are a complete disgrace to the medical field itself. But there's also some MDs who are a complete disgrace to the medical field itself. So I think that's where, I stand on the MD versus DO thing.
What about naturopathic doctors? What are your thoughts on naturopaths?
Like herbal medicine?
Yeah, I guess. Like, just trying to think, because that was...
what specific degrees do they have? It's called, like, an ND, right?
Yeah, I think generally... I believe most of them go to school for 8 years. I think they get an undergrad, and then they go to, like, a naturopathic medical school. So I think, yeah, what they end up having is an ND, like a naturopathic doctorate, I assume.
Yeah, the philosophy behind those schools and that degree is right. It's not executed very well. I would not personally very comfortably go to an ND, but it's more so because they have less stringent requirements than we do, and they're also less qualified than we are on a number of things. I wouldn't extremely recommend it, but I wouldn't say like they have a little more credibility than chiropractors at least.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I fucking hate. I'm sorry, I hate chiropractors so much.
No, that's okay. I do as well. I mean, after like, oh my goodness, I have something in my eye. It's fine. It's fine. So have you ever heard of a YouTuber named Miles Power?
No, I have not.
I
don't go on YouTube much, so it's more so my fault if I haven't heard of him.
Well, he's really great. I would highly recommend his channel. Just for entertainment purposes, since like you are a doctor, but he talks about chiropractic stuff a lot, and he did a really good basically documentary debunking the documentary House of Numbers, which is like an AIDS denialist movie. Yeah, so that's really interesting. I found out some very I did not realize that AIDS denialism was a thing until watching that video.
I didn't know either.
It's quite insane. Do you know the band The Foo Fighters?
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, they hosted a charity thing for an AIDS denialist group.
Why did you have to do this to me?
Sorry. They don't, to be fair, I guess they don't anymore. Like, they removed the links to them, like, from their website and stuff. But, there was, like, a...
David Grohl.
It's really, I think it's like a testament to just how pervasive those kinds of things can be, you know? It's insane. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
And
I think I can go to sleep tonight.
In my chat, someone said NMD just stands for not medical doctor.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to approach it from like a pompous way. It's just that a lot of people, especially chiropractors, cause a lot of problems for us, because then we have patients saying, well, I don't have cancer because my chiropractor diagnosed me with this, or I'm gonna get this treatment instead of what you recommend because my chiropractor said, I should get. They have zero training whatsoever in any aspects of actual medicine.
I was looking it up, and in some places, I'm not sure. Oh, thank you for the follow. I'm not sure exactly where, but there are places where chiropractors aren't required to have first aid CPR training.
They're not?
Yeah.
So then even if you get a heart attack, the one chance that they can do any medical procedure, they can't.
Yeah, well, there's this case that, excuse me, Miles Power talked about, where it was this older man, he went in for leg pain because he was having, like, runner's pain or something.
Like arthritis, like osteoarthritis probably, or something like that.
Yeah, and so he went into the chiropractor to get adjusted, but the chiropractor, not being properly trained, overlooked the fact that, he might have, as you age, where your, vertebrae will kind of like fuse together a little bit. I can't remember what the thing is called, but like 10% of people over the age of 60 have it. But so it makes it so that like I guess trauma to your spine is more severe because it's not as flexible. And so he went in, and the chiropractor, not taking this into account, did...
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
It's called spondylitis, by the way.
Spondylitis. All right. I will try to remember that.
I want to know that.
But so he had that, and she like put his head in the neck strap thing and did like the table drop, and actually like basically internally decapitated him. Just broke his neck. And this makes me so mad because
if you're calling a medical procedure the same name as something called in the WWE, then maybe you shouldn't be doing those medical procedures. Right?
True. Oh my god. Well, it's like so I'm a lifeguard, and I've been a lifeguard for, I don't know, like 4 years now, I think. And so even I, right, know how to properly handle a spinal injury, which is you brace the neck and you try not to move them as much as possible until EMTs arrive, right? No, this dumb bitch, she picked picked him up, set him in a chair, and then tilted his head back and tried to give him mouth to mouth because she thought he was having a stroke.
Well, that's more so a problem with Hollywood, thinking mouth to mouth can like fix any illness.
Yeah, right. But like, just, oh my god, insane. And then when the EMTs got there, she didn't properly tell them what happened. So they thought he was having a stroke, and they didn't properly brace his neck on the way out because she didn't tell them that he had a neck trauma, and so he died.
Nor would she, because he could have sued her.
Ah! Just so infuriating. So infuriating.
Yeah.
But that's literally like, that is basic first aid training. Like, basic shit right there. I mean, it's that just drives me nuts.
Let's put it this way: in action movies, they don't even move someone who had a spinal injury.
Right. True.
If you watch the shittiest of shit Steven Seagal shit movie, if someone has a spinal injury, I'm pretty sure that even then they treat it correctly.
Oh god.
I could be wrong.
Well, no. Now that you say that, do you know what the show Trailer Park Boys is?
Yeah, but I've never watched it, unfortunately.
Okay, well, so the premise of the show, right, is that everyone in it is absolutely stupid, right? Mm-hmm. Even in that show, one of the characters gets kicked by a horse through a wall, and his neck hurts, and even he braces his neck.
Oh my god.
I just realized that, like, even he makes himself, like, a makeshift neck brace because his neck hurts. Holy crap. Oh my god. Makes me so mad. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So this isn't necessarily like something that's super, I don't know, anything. It's just funny to me. So there's this channel that I have talked about on my channel before. We've watched some of her videos and stuff. Her name is Truther Talk.
Is this a Twitch channel?
No, she's a YouTuber.
Oh, okay.
But she made a video called The Devil's Prick about vaccines. And oh my god, it is hilarious. It is her talking about how vaccines, she had a dream where people were getting the COVID vaccine and it turned them into orcs.
Oh my god.
And so to her, that's a sign that when the COVID vaccine comes out, they're going to give it to everybody. And then when they activate the 5G towers, it's going to turn people into some sort of something else. Like, she's like, I don't know if it's an orc or not. Or demons, but it's something. It's really bad. This vaccine, the COVID vaccine, is going to be the worst of all of them. It's, oh god, it goes into like how climate change is a scheme to huh?
Let's put it this way. If you want a little more credibility, why would you name a documentary like the same name a bad porno would have?
well,
The Devil's Prick, that's what you're gonna name it?
Because it's you know, the Satan's vaccinations, right? The
Devil's Prick makes me think of other things.
I know. Oh, it's amazing. It's wonderful. She's I think I said earlier, she's the one that got fired from her job because she refused to wear a mask because she has asthma. And she oh my god, she's such a lol cow. Like, she literally oh heck, what is she filmed herself being kicked out of a hospital because she wouldn't wear a mask. Like the incident that got her fired, she filmed it and uploaded it herself as if it made her look good. When it's just her, like, yelling at some poor hospital employee who's just like, please, you need to wear a mask. It's the rules. We can't let you in without a mask. Please just do it. It's fine.
Oh my god.
Oh,
You
it's
know, and where does that mentality get people? I'm sorry to say, but it gets them in the ICU.
yeah.
A lot of people in the ICU right now either could not have avoided getting COVID due to people around them not caring, or were people specifically themselves that did not care and got it. Or to a lesser percentage, were just people who did care and got it, unfortunately. But
I mean, it doesn't. It makes me really like sad. I guess I don't know if sad's quite the right word, but
that's the right word because it is sad.
well, like the fact that people told us like how bad this could get, you know. Like I remember watching like videos of epidemiologists like talking about how if we don't respond to this well, it could spiral exponentially out of control, like because it's
Like
so
right now.
contagious. Yeah, and seriously, like looking at the spikes, like I have your channel pulled up and the graphs that are going. It's just how can I genuinely I cannot comprehend how people don't take this seriously.
Sort of the mentality that like if it doesn't affect me or someone I love, then it's not real, right?
I
Until it then does, and then it's too late to say anything about it.
Yeah. Well, wear your masks, people, please. Dear God, please.
Yeah,
Oh.
and if you have to go to the chiropractor, please wear your mask to the chiropractor as well. While
Oh my.
they're what is it? Table jumping you?
Yeah, like the table drop, I think is what
Table
it's called.
dropping you?
Oh my God. Oh, it's so bad. Ugh.
I can guarantee table drop is something like Hulk Hogan did or something.
Oh, it sounds like it. Oh my goodness. Well, excuse me. I am probably gonna get going out of here because it's been I've hit the 2 hour mark. My brain is starting to melt.
Yep. It's all good. I have to go to sleep soon too.
Yeah. Well, this was a wonderful talk. Did you want to finish up just like the two of us in the Discord, or did you want to we can just end the stream together? What would you like to do?
Yeah, let's end the stream together, and then if you wouldn't mind staying for like another 10 minutes or so, I would love to talk about possible continuing projects, because I think this was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to. All right. Well, I'm gonna actually go ahead. Do you want to we can just mute each other and then
Yep, and do our sign-offs.
Yep,
And then
sounds good.
Yep, let's do that.
All right. Wait, how do I there we go. I don't know how to use Discord apparently. It's fine. All right, guys. Wait, hold on. Sorry. Okay. All right. Now I know how to use Discord. It's fine. All right. So, to the few of you who stuck around for the whole stream, Longlegs, Homo Sapien, Gopnik Pirate, whoever else is here, thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. I had a ton of fun today. I thought this was really cool, and hopefully, round midnight underscore. Let me give him one last shout out. Is a very, very nice, cool dude. Everyone, please go follow him. Midnight underscore. There we go. Please go ahead and give him a follow, and hopefully we will see more of him on the channel. So yeah, I don't know how to end this. I'm planning on streaming more. As I said, I mentioned briefly earlier, and I put it in my Discord. I am back at work now. It happened very suddenly. It's good. I'm actually really happy. It's really nice to like see people again in person. But so I'm not 100% sure when I'm gonna be streaming and all that, but I do want to get back into a better routine of streaming, and I have some really fun like streams coming up, and yeah, coming up I will also be talking about